All right. Welcome, welcome. I don't even know how many of you are here. Well, there's 10 of you. Cool. Let's see. For those of you who weren't here yesterday, you won't be able to see me. For some reason, OBS does not want to capture my FaceTime HD camera built into the laptop, even though it was doing it fine in earlier tests. But that's okay. I mean, all you would really see is me staring perplexedly at monitors and such. So it'll just be voice and screencast, pretty much. That's how we're doing this. Okay, so things that this set of notes here is really, it's things that happened between last night and or between the live stream yesterday, the live stream yesterday and today. So stuff I did last night. So as an example, I can get rid of that. One of the things we talked about yesterday was whether or not what post titles should be, like what heading level they should be. And at the time, the MyerWeb.com masthead was an H1, and so these were all H2s, or actually they were H3s, because in some pages it made sense for them to be H3s, and others it sort of seemed to make sense for them to be H2s. And last night I made them all H1s, except for this, the MyerWeb, which is no longer a heading at all. If we look at the element in the Firefox Inspector, it's probably a little hard to see, so let me blow it up a little bit. The div still has an ID of sitemap, which I'm probably going to change today. And then it's just a span, and I don't even know if I need the span anymore. I used to style the MyerWeb differently than the .com, and I might leave it there for that purpose, or I might take it out. I'm not sure yet. But this is no longer a heading. I'm not making the masthead a heading anymore. And these are all H1s, and I'm not sure if that's a great idea. I'll be interested to see what chat thinks. Because on most pages where these, so on a post page, like this page is just this post about the New Year live stream. It makes sense for this to be an H1 here. But then on a home page or on an archive page, every article then has an H1. But I don't feel like I can make them H2s everywhere. I don't know, maybe I should. And the MyerWeb could go back to being an H1. It feels a little weird that way. Because if I go into the archives to, let's say, the 2017, like, if this is an H1 up here, the MyerWeb.com, then what's this? And then what are these? Like, I think I originally, and you got to remember, I determined the structure of this site approximately 13 years ago. So a lot of this is vague to me, but I think I looked at archive pages and said, well, if the masthead's an H1 and this is an H2, like if I'm going to have a subhead, like the page title should be an H2, and then these should all be H3s on this kind of a page. And I mean, I can make them H1s on some pages and H2s on other pages, but then I'm having to change the CSS in response to the structure, and that bugs me. Because in some places H1 means one thing, and in other places it means something else. And I know this is why a lot of people just class the heck out of everything and style the classes, and I don't know, maybe I'll get to that point. It would be particularly helpful if someone who was watching had an accessibility insight to this, because if the document I said this yesterday, if the document outline algorithm was actually a thing, then I would just like use H's or whatever. The outline algorithm will let me do, and I would just start a new outline for each of these pieces, but it's not a thing. sadly, so I can't do that. Oh, that was a thing I was going to do. I forgot to do. Hang on. I need to change my generated content. Doo-doo. Blow this up a bit. Save, reload. That'll do. Redesigning it right now. Yeah, maybe that's what I will do. It's super annoying that we either have to class everything, so I end up with H2 post title or H3 post title, or we have to do that, or wish that we had the outline algorithm. Just anyway, moving on. Other things I did last night. I comma separated the categories, and I actually put in this categorized under. So these used to be the categories for a post were link, and then I think literally, BR element. So however many categories they were, there was one list item, and it was like, redesign BR, speaking BR, whatever BR, whatever BR. So I've changed that to say categorized under this, comma this, comma this, comma this, comma, however many. And I was talking about the time relative post plugs. I put those in last night. I had the function elsewhere. I actually wrote a time relative plugin like years ago. So I think I harvested that, or I updated it recently. I don't remember now, but I had it sitting elsewhere, and I folded it into the functions in my WordPress install. Let me see. Where's my human time difference plugin? Oh, I didn't even put a date on it. But the last time it was updated was in 2015, and then what I have now in my themes functions file is down here at the bottom is a get time since time. And it's probably not very elegant, but I don't really care. It works well enough. And it lets me do things like published 1 day ago, published 4 days ago, published 3 weeks, 3 days ago. And if you go far enough back, 4 weeks, 2 days ago. Let's see, how far back does this go? 1 month, 1 week ago. Right, so I'm not saying, published 2 months ago. So it has sort of cut off. So I'm not saying published 2 months, 2 weeks, 1 day, and 6 hours and 17 minutes ago. No, we're not doing that. But I put that in last night because it was easy to do. Let me get rid of functions there. What else? Oh, right. I generalized blog posting. I said yesterday that I wanted to do this during the live stream, that I felt like it was a good idea, so I just went and did it. But of course, this is what makes it difficult to vary the markup. I mean, I can throw in stuff, but this is the bit where, like, a functional blog entry, it's like, here's an entry, and it's got the /div, and it's got an HR in it with a class of fallback for when the CSS doesn't load at all. It has all this stuff that comes in. The metadata is where it needs to be. Everything is where it needs to be. Right, so this actually complicates the whole heading thing. Again, it's a thing I could fix, but anyway. What else did I do? Oh yeah, my server-side includes that we're pointing at the extra.html include. I just got rid of them. I did a bunch of find and replace, and then synchronize site with transmit. I'm using transmit 4, I think, but it basically I found all the instances where those things needed to change, and then I told transmit synchronize, any file that's changed within the last day, upload it, and so they did. The feeds page, I took the distractions and the redesign watch off, and I fixed my excuse of the day include. So now the excuse of the day is showing up on every footer, no matter where you are in the site, which wasn't really happening before. and it was spawning a whole lot of errors in my PHP error log. But now it's not, because I fixed that. So the images are still a problem. And then a question that came up yesterday was my WordPress datetime in the admin, is it set as Eastern time or universal? And it's set as Eastern time, and yet it's not spitting out the right time zone offset when I include a time. So on this published Tuesday, December 27th, 2017. Oh, right, it's not doing it there. Hang on. It's doing it on actual posts, I believe. Is it here? No, it's not. What happened to... All right. Anyway, I was generating date times, and they all said that they were +00 off of UTC, even though they're not. They should be either -400 or 500. Oh, well. So... yeah. Okay, can I use new H1s inside article section nav and aside tags? I mean, theoretically, that's what the document outline was supposed to let you do, but the document outline isn't supported by anything. So no, not. You should be, but you can't. Should be able to, but you can't. All right, so I'm going to get rid of the notes. Right, so moving forward, there's clearly some cleanup here that I have to do. When it comes to things like this markup, because this is, and the comment markup as well. I think that's in comments.php, yes. But let me also open up single.php, or sorry, no, functions. I have to open functions. Because it's got my preferred format here for the time. I think maybe... Yeah, now that I think about it, I think I took the date time back out because it was wrong and I wanted to fix it. In this case, I actually want to leave the time in, but I'm not gonna split it. Oops. So for comments, it's gonna say, I mean, I prefer 24-hour clocks. I'm wondering, though, for readers' sakes, if it should be a hour colon minute with a suffix. Probably should be. All right, so once again, PHP date format, not because this is specific, I mean, because I am in PHP, and so it's not specifically PHP, but it's easier to find here, so... Ooh, microseconds. Awesome. I'm not doing that. I want it lowercase. So I want G:(I) lowercase a. So it's G:(I) lowercase a. So I went from hi to Gia. Gia. Nope, wrong one. G's, oh, lowercase g. There we go. Okay. Yeah, and so this is a thing. I need to fix this. Actually, I need to get rid of this. So originally, like way back in the day, I'm doing it. This is an ordered list, but I wanted to have the comment quote unquote number be the link, and it never occurred to me, and I haven't fixed in the time since that, like, if something was held for moderation and then I approved it, but another comment had come in the meantime, like the numbers would be thrown off. I really need the time to be the link. So what I actually need to do is I need to take this and move it down here. And I need to close that out as an A. And then I need to promote this to the top. And there we go. And then also I need to invert this because I have the metadata before the content, and as we discovered, as we determined yesterday, or as I determined yesterday, I want the metadata to come after the actual content. So this is like First comment, Tuesday, December 26th, 2:22 p.m. Comment, and then nobody would see this except me. I only see this because I'm logged in. You know, Eric Meyer wrote in to say that was right. No, we want the edit. We want the comment content first. So, oops. Yeah, and I've got H5s here, and what the heck. So I put that later. We invert those, and there we go. Okay. And I am going to comment out. I don't think I should do the comment type. Hardly anybody tracks back anymore. I'm going to comment it out for now, just in case I want to come back to that. I suppose I could make it Eric Meyer wrote on Tuesday, December 26, 2017 at 2:22 p.m. to say, I don't know. That could actually work pretty well. Alternatively, I could literally put the content first and then just put a credit and a date instead of this whole wrote in to say thing. It was useful though, because I say received from if it's a trackback or a pingback or whatever. As you can see there in the PHP, it's case pingback, case trackback, this. And then by default, you wrote in to say, because the default is comments. And yeah, there's this whole H5, H whatever thing. Because I have this as an H3, and do I want that as an H3? Because this is an H1, or is it going to be an H1? I hate heading levels. I understand why they exist. I understand why Sir Tim did them the way he did them, because he was building on what had come before, and what had come before had that kind of thing. But, oh, hi. Now I have a cat in my lap. I wish there had been a document outline from the beginning, and then we wouldn't have these problems. Yes. Okay. I think I'm going to leave this the way it is at this point. Just because, I mean, it is the way that I've done this since forever. And while I am trying to challenge that in various ways, I think I'm good with keeping this as it is. I can always change it later as I get into things. Yeah, so there's feeds for that. The feeds page, I think it's the same thing. Yeah, I mean, supposedly you can get summary in full. And here I think I'm just offering full, well, except for comments. Does anybody subscribe to comments RSS feeds? I'm just curious. If there's anyone in chat who subscribes to a comments RSS feed, just let us know. Because respect if that's the case. But I feel like not many people do that. And I honestly, I don't even know if WordPress still supports comment RSS. I should probably find out. Let's spawn that off. Yeah, apparently. Hey, everybody, it's Newwwyear. Say hi, Newwwyear. Okay. How will replies be structured? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Andrew. But, you know, drop what you mean by that about reply structure in chat, and I'll see what I can say about that. Okay. Maybe I take these down to H2s. Yeah. Oh, is there comment nesting or threading? There isn't. Generally, people do the at or whatever in text. WordPress has comment threading, but my comment, I hand built the comment form and comment structure, I think before threading was a thing in WordPress, and I'm not willing to turn everything over to their markup structure. I haven't been willing to do that. And I haven't dug into WordPress enough to figure out how to do threading on my own. Because one of the things that I do is that I drop the little, if I'm logged into the site and I get a little edit thing for everyone's comment. So I'll occasionally in the back end I'll fix somebody's obvious typo silently, or if I have a comment I want to make directly to that thing, sort of as a side note, that I don't want to do it as a whole comment, then I'll like put in a little note from the editor. That's pretty rare that happens. But so, I need to check on this. Yeah, that's still broken. I don't need this anymore. Am I going to use micro formats? Probably not. At least not during this. That's something I might go and do later, after I'm done with the whole live stream, or if I get done with this a lot sooner than I thought. Then I might look into that, but that's not a plan right now. I could do Google whatever it is, the microformats version of schema.org. I've done that sort of thing before. I just haven't done it for MeyerWeb. What was I thinking? Oh, right. I need to fix this, which I think is here. Yep. Okay, so I need to fix that link, and then think down to the navigation. Cool. That's what I want. And let me bring this up to an archive page. Archive page? Archives, come on. Load up. You're not loading. Okay, fine. Oh, I went all the way to the home page somehow. Or at least it looks like I did. Oh no, it only looks like I did. Oh, right, because this is the main. But I want to go 2017. Yeah. See, one of the reasons yeah. Headings. I hate you all. Not you on the chat. I'm talking about heading levels. Yeah, see, H2 class equals page title. I guess I'm already classing it for. I could make it a span if I felt like it. But see, that's exactly the kind of thing that this leads to. Oh, and I did put this in a header. That was one of the things I did when I put in the time relative bit. Was, and I don't even know why it says class equals published. I'll have to look at that again. Why did I do that? Anyway, this is a rel equals bookmark. But yeah, at the top of an entry, there's a header that has an H1, and then the header ends, and then we've got the main part, which is a div class equals text. I could probably change that from being a div, honestly. For that matter, these don't have to be entry, class equals entry divs. They could be sections or articles or asides. I mean, why am I not calling it an article? That's what they are. Yeah, I'm fixing that now. Go back to functions, div class equals entry is now article class equals entry. Let me find the end of that. Hit reload. And thoughts? Bada bing, bada boom. We have articles. Cool. Well, that actually, I'm happy with that now. I don't know, this div ID equals thoughts should probably be, or probably, it could be a section. It doesn't have to be a section. Because I've got a footer going on here, and this div ID equals sitemap is probably also going to be a header to go with the footer. That should actually happen pretty soon. So I'll do that now. I have to do that in a couple of places. Because of the weird way I put this all together. Slash header. And then go up here, click, click. Find this. There we go. Header. Copy. Paste. Cool beans. We're off to the races. There's other stuff that I need to do along those lines, like the navigation links should really be in a nav element. I just haven't gotten to that part yet. Yeah, so we've got a header with an ID of sitemap, and we've got right at the moment a div with an ID of main, inside of which there's a div with an ID of thoughts. It has a bunch of articles. Yay. And then I've upset the hierarchy there. This div with an ID of extra that's actually special to the archives. That's what contains the list of monthly, like in January of 2007, there were 10 posts. So if you click on January, you can see all of the posts from January 2007. Awesome. Oh, January of 2007, I broke WordPress 2.1. Okay. And Twitterific was out. And I think I spelled it wrong. Sorry. Twitterifically frustrated. Okay. So, yeah. More than 10 years ago. Published 10 years, 11 months. See, I like this. This is good. Yeah. I'm digging this. So if somebody's like searching for hold music, I don't know, or Twitterific, and they type Twitterific frustrated and they see this and they click on it. Like the first thing they'll see was that it was published like 10 years, 11 months ago. And then they also have a chance to see exactly what day it was published on at the end, if they care, but they might come in here and say, oh, 10 years ago, I can go back to my search results because this is completely not helping me. I'm digging that in a major way. Anyway, this list here is what, yeah, and it's a humongous unordered list, which is just wrong. That is a thing that I'll have to fix. I don't mind so much the way that it's structured, although I always find it weird that the years go in chronological order and then the months within the year go in chronological order. But I don't know, maybe I'll invert that in some way. Or I could do like a 2007, ooh, that would be cool. Like 2017 written vertically as a link. And then each of these is like a little think of, ooh, that sounds like a good idea. It might be terrible, but I'm going to find out later. Let's see. Yeah. So, cool. Yeah, and those of you who weren't here yesterday, this is all done with CSS Grid. It's just a simple grid. And this is actually the navigation div, which it's a div at the moment, is spanning the entire column track, and then it's centered within that column track vertically. I just said align self-center, and it was done. So that was cool. Yeah, and at some point I'm going to deal with this, the fact that it doesn't go the full width? Like, am I going to want it to go the full width? I don't know. I'm not there yet. At the moment, the column here is completely enforced by the body having a max width and auto margins and some padding so that if you squeeze it down, it doesn't slam up against the sides of your mobile device or whatever. So that's what's happening there, and the footer is part of the body, clearly. So it is also constrained. I give it some small negative margins to pull it out slightly, but at some point I'm going to have to think about, like, is that how I want the entire site to be, including the footer, or do I want to constrain the main div, like the main part of the page that way, and let the footer, be full width and any navigation. Another thing I've been putting off dealing with, and I can't put it off much longer, is where will the navigation content actually go? We talked about this yesterday. Well, I talked about it, and people in the chat humored me. But should the navigation be up here, like content-wise, in the source order, or should it be down in or near the footer? I can't have it in the footer if I want to visually put it at the top of the page, because I can't bust this out of its grid container and throw it at the top of the page. I would have to have it just above the footer, which is not a huge deal. It's a thing I can easily do. And then I can rearrange the page how I want, or I can have it as content. And I'm still undecided as to where I want it in the source order. Just because there's the part of me that says, if you're on a screen reader, right, if you're having the page read to you, you want it to say, myweb.com, like, you want the minimum amount of stuff before you hit the content that you probably came there for. Because very few people just drop by websites anymore, from what I can tell. It's all, I was searching for a thing and I landed here. So if you're in an article, you don't necessarily want the screen reader to have to read through a whole bunch of links just to get to the content. But on the flip side, if you landed on a page and you didn't mean to go there, then you want to get to the navigation quickly. I think it's probably going to end up above the footer, because the only other way I can see to do it would be myweb.com, skip to main content, and then they would be like, wait, what? So I think navigation is actually going to end up just above the footer, like right here in the source. And then I can flip things around. Okay. Well, one of the things I definitely want to do today. So there's a little bit of a bifurcation in the site. Maybe not just a little bit, like an entire thing. Right? There's the blog, which is most of the content that people are interested in. But there's the rest of the site, which is not a blog. It tends to be pages that didn't look all that different than what you're seeing right now in the old design. Like, this would have been in the sidebar, but I need to get rid of that because the redesign watch hasn't been updated since 2003. Okay. Or somewhere thereabouts. Whenever Slashdot left behind table layout and started using CSS layout, that's the last time I updated the redesign watch. That was a long time ago. But the point here being, in this sort of context, I believe these are paragraphs inside DDs. Maybe they're just straight DDs. But there are places where, like, this is a paragraph. And I want to treat this kind of paragraph differently than I do the paragraphs in the blog, because I am going with when it comes to articles, I'm doing the indent the first line and don't have a blank line between paragraphs. I just prefer it. So what I really need to do here is, inside of thoughts, paragraphs are going to have, no margin. And the first line is going to be indented, I don't know, 3M. Let's go with that. Okay, that was too far, but you get the idea. And I'm probably not going with a complete easier. Let's try 5CH and see what that looks like. All right, something more like this. And I want to bring up the line height a little bit too. And honestly, I'm also probably going to change the font, but yeah, let's thoughts line height. Let's go with 1.4 and see what that looks like. And this is probably something I'll carry through, not the indenting, but the line height. If I find a good line height that I like, that's a little too much, then I'll probably apply it outside of here, but I feel like this is the content that I need to work on this on. Ooh, that looks a lot better. Maybe a little too airy. But I also, I need to start thinking about what am I going to do font face-wise, font family-wise. And am I going to have that go throughout the entire site, or am I going to have articles be art-directed basically differently than the rest of the site? So if you're here, if you're reading an article, should it be, I'm going to go with Georgia. In fact, I'm going to convert this to font 1M slash 1.333 Georgia, comma, serif. Georgia might be too much, but you know, this is the kind of thing I'm thinking about, just because I want this to be a little easier on the eyes. Since before I redesigned it the last time, since like 2001, I think it's been in Arial, not even Helvetica. I was using Arial. And I never minded it, and readers never seemed to mind it a whole lot. And I could go with a web font. That feels a little heavy though. For all of the content, I may eventually end up grabbing a custom font for headings, like for titles and stuff like that. But I don't think that's where I want to go right now. It's just a bit. That's not where I want to go for the whole, all the content. I know font performance has gotten a lot better, but I was hoping to stick to system fonts or common fonts as much as possible. Georgia has always struck me as being a little bit wide. I don't know if other people feel the same way, but I've always felt like it's readable, but it feels a little stretched out. And I wish right, like Georgia doesn't have a condensed face, so I can't really condense it. I mean, variable fonts would be awesome here. Yes, absolutely. I would certainly consider that, because if I had a variable version of Georgia, I would take Georgia and just like skinny it up a little bit, and I would probably be a lot happier. Yeah. Anyway. And I wonder if this should just be in rem, this text indent. Yeah, that's actually nicer than what I was doing before. And here's the thing. I would use M here for this margin, because it's related to the actual font size. So if I made this, like 0.25 rem, and then I had an article where I embedded a style sheet to make all the text bigger for some reason, or smaller for that matter, then these separations would visually become different. So I want that to stay the same. But for the indentation, yeah, I probably don't want to do rem though. I probably want to do M for that same reason. I get why rems are tempting, and they're tempting, because you're like, all the indents will be exactly the same. Everything will line up exactly. And I don't care. Okay. That's just how it is. And then, yeah, I'm going to have to deal with all kinds of indents. So as an example, this block quote. Check this out. The built-in user style sheet, user agent, HTML.css, the indentation of block quotes and lists, for that matter, are 40 pixels. Because that's what Mosaic did. That is the only reason this value still exists. It's to maintain backwards consistency. Mosaic indented everything by 40 pixels, and that's what browsers still do today. It's not just Firefox. Pretty much all of them do. So I'm going to have to deal with all that stuff as well. So I may as well do that now. Block. I can never type block quote correctly. OL. UL. Margin left, I'll go with the same 2M. Padding left 0. We'll leave it like that for the moment. And come on. Did I botch my styles? That happens sometimes. Thoughts block quote, thoughts UL, thoughts OL, margin left 2M. I suppose I could try to override padding inline start and see what happens. But I feel like there's a typo. Let's take this to 0 and this to 2M. Because I realize that's probably what I want to do anyway. Thoughts block quote, thoughts OL, thoughts UL. Why would that not be applied? Upload complete. Where? Yeah, I'm on the home page. Yeah. Something went wrong. Only the first one of these is inside div ID equals thoughts. I blew something up. Yep. There's my problem. Okay. All right. Time to go track down. I'm on the home page, right? What's the index look like? Thoughts? I must have a stray div in that function. Is going to be my guess. Because it's supposed to spit out for each blog entry. Oh, oops. There's my problem, I think. This doesn't go here. Probably shouldn't be there at all. Thoughts. Let's try that and see what happens. And boom, there we go. Yeah, so I'm going to have to figure out what I want to do about paragraphs in block quotes and paragraphs that follow. Like, this is going to be a challenge, but this is still a thing I want to do. I still want this this kind of styling. So things that immediately follow lists and block quotes and paragraphs. I don't know, paragraphs in block quotes. Well, one of the things I want to do is the thoughts. Oops. Yeah. Something tells me I'm going to end up restructuring this, but first child, comma, thoughts, block quote plus P. Yeah, I can already see that this is going to get away from me, but I'm running with it anyway. UL, OL, or no, darn it. I did that backwards. OL, UL. I'll do it after a table. Text indent 0. Right, so that way a first child paragraph does not get indented. So any paragraph that's the first child of something else. So that includes block quotes, like, because this is 2 separate block quotes here. Following a block quote, following a UL. I'm starting to have second thoughts about this separation space, but I'll come back to that in a minute. Oh, this is interesting. So that goes there, and this, why is this one not indented? Because it's not the first child. It follows a style. So I'm going to see, this is what I meant by this is going to get away from me. And that style is there because I've recently taken to doing minor post-specific art direction. So in this particular post, this is a definition list that uses grid, if I remember correctly, to make it look like that. Yeah, it's DT is the P equal, page 6, and then the DD contains the text. But if you look at code pages, it's a grid. If we turn the grid on, this is all that it's doing, right? The column here on the side is fit content 20%, and then 1FR. So this is a fit content of 20%. Please don't ask me to explain fit content live because it's difficult to put into words. But I think it's that 20%. No, I'm not going to describe it in case I get it wrong. Okay, look it up. It's a thing. And then the DDs have the borders. They've got this left border is what's creating this. And then a little bit of, they've got a 3/4 M margin to push them away from the actual edge of their grid track. So, yeah, we're looking at DL code pages here, and this will show you, right, like DD, DT. And then you can see with the highlighting where the various pieces are. And there's a lot of different ways I could have done this. I could have done this so that the DT was the one that had a right border, and so it would only be one tall, or I could have made it stretch so it went all the way up and down. But I really wanted these borders to sort of be linked to this content, and I didn't want them to touch each other. I wanted this sort of separation when I was doing it. Anyway, that's what this style element's doing in here. Like, I think that's almost literally everything. It's not quite. I have a book cover style in here that I'm actually going to pull out and throw into my main style sheet. But that's what this style was. So I've taken to embedding things, and I think these guys have a yeah, they're a class that they used to cause them to float. It doesn't anymore. And then I did inline style. I have shamed the tribe, I know, but I'm sorry. But their outside shape is literally themselves, and then a shape margin of 1M and a right margin to pull them outward. So if I change this briefly to be float right, so this, I believe there's a shape invalid property value. You are so wrong. That is not an invalid property value. I seem to recall having this problem though. Something about Firefox and shapes is not quite there yet. Oops, no, that's what I wanted. And I feel like there was a shape inspector, and now I've lost track of it. They may have pulled it back out. I'm not sure what the status of outside shapes is, but if this were Chrome, let's make it Chrome since it's a live site. I can do this, copy, paste. All right, there we go. Here you are. Inspect. I'm going to, yes, thank you. Highlights from Chrome 63. Thanks a ton. Float right. Okay, and you can't, it's not easy to see here, but notice how the text sort of like it's sticking in because there's a shape on this. And there you can see, so it has a 1em shape margin. So that's the sort of orangey part there. And it's using itself as its own float shape. And then I use the margin to push away from it. And I could, if I wanted to, try to create a new shape. I could do a polygon and then do this kind of thing. This is a plugin for Chrome called the Shape Editor, and it's awesome because I can see how the shape is changing as I edit it. But for an image like this, it was just as easy to like refer to itself as its own float shape. Anyway, that will eventually get floated. But yeah, class equals pic for a really long time, like 13 years. This class right here, class equals pic, PIC, short for picture, was like float right. It just, that's what happened. This one I believe is in a class of standalone. Yeah, it has a class of standalone, which means it's sort of what we think of as like the medium full column image. But I've been doing it since long before Medium did it. This would probably also be a standalone. So it's supposed to get close to filling out the column, but not exactly. These would also probably be that. Okay, so that's enough of wandering down that tangent. But this is, I mean, this is already closer to where I want it. This kind of thing. And then if I go to the rest of the site, that should not be leaking through. I mean, it'll show up on the archives page because this is, again, their blog posts. But if I go into the toolbox, this is not that. Like, this isn't Georgia, this is Times, because I'm only applying Georgia to the blog post. And I don't think I want to do that, but I think I probably do want to have the same font through most of the site. But I do need to think about this. I'm not just going to rely on HRs. In fact, I'm going to take care of that now. So font, oops, dot entry. Well, actually, HR dot fallback, I believe is what I class them as. Border color, let's see if I'm right. Border color red. Perhaps I did not. What did I call you? HR dot fallback. Am I not being allowed to style? Oh, there we go. I just was too impatient. I didn't reload at the right time. Okay. Let me pull this down a bit. So that's what those are. That's cool. Yeah, no, I probably don't want to mess with these too much. Because I could say something like height 5em for reasons that might not make sense at the moment. But I'm not sure how. Oh, that's what happened. Yeah, look, it's a 5em tall horizontal rule. I don't think I'm going to do it that way though. So really what I want to do here is display none. Oh, right. And for those of you who are wondering what the heck just happened with the HR, an HR is basically a zero height box, is how most browsers style them now. It's an element, but the borders are like the ruled effect is an inset border that and it just the box has no height. The same as if you did div, style equals border 1px inset gray. I'm not sure exactly what color they're using there, and then didn't put any content in it. You would get basically the same effect. So here I stretched it out to be 5em tall. Now it's a 5em tall box, but because basically if I'm what I want to do is I want to create some space between these, but I don't think I want to do it using HRs because some browsers might ignore my attempts to change the borders. And even if they don't now, they might in the future. So I want my fallback HR to be display none. The only reason it exists is if somebody's not getting most of the like the CSS. I could cheat a little and do @supports, and then something that's sufficiently advanced that I don't have to worry about it. I could literally do display flex and figure that any browser that supports display flex isn't going to need my fallback HR. That seems reasonable. This has nothing to do with flex display, the HR fallback, but it doesn't matter. I could just as easily do shape outside like that. I could do that. But you always have to have the value. You can't just say @supports flex because that is a property, and you can't just say @supports display because everything supports display if it supports CSS at all. So you always need a property and a value, but the value doesn't. The value can be whatever. So why not use a margin on the HR? Because I think I'm getting rid of it. I want something nicer than that HR. I want more space, and I want something better than an HR. I still want a separation, but I'm going to be wacky about it, because that's my thing. So for an entry, let's go with padding bottom of, I'm going to start with 2em, and also a margin bottom of 2em for reasons that hopefully will be clear in a moment. Let me make that change. Oh, darn it. Okay, so that's pushed them apart. Maybe not far enough, but it'll do for now. Yeah, actually it's not far enough. I'm going to go with 3 and 3 because I want to open this up a bit. Okay, so I could just go border bottom 1px solid gray. And, well, not gray, but in the final, but something, right? And then this will, that gives a separation. Why am I still in Chrome? That's what's been causing me problems. Okay. Come on. Drag down. Yep, there we go. Okay. So I could do this border. Yeah, it's true. I could. But I'm actually not going to. I'm going to do more stupid background tricks. So background. Linear gradient. I'll go to the right, although I could go either right or left, doesn't matter. 0.33, comma RGBA 0000.67, comma RGBA 0000.33. Okay, so I'm going to have a linear gradient. And I could just stop it there. And that would look like whatever that's, where is that? Hello. Oh, oops. I forgot my second closing parenthesis. Woo! Okay. So I don't want that. I'm going to put it center bottom, and I'm going to make it 75% wide and 1 pixel tall. And I'm going to make it not repeat. And now I have this sort of gradient faded separator. 0.33 might actually be too much. I might want to take that down to 0.25. Yeah, like that, so that it's not just a line. It has this fade in. I could take it the other way. I could do 6.7 to 6.7 and take the middle down to 0.25, or whatever. Or I could make it a rainbow. It doesn't actually matter, right? So that it's this kind of a thing instead. And this is I'd probably want this wider, because I don't want this big column spanning thing, and I want it to be more interesting than just a straight line. So I could do stuff like that. And this is an effect I've actually been using a fair bit recently. I actually did it. I'll go over to the Event Apart site for just a minute. In news, that's this, plus there's a second background image. It's an SVG that I ran this through. Like, this separator is 2 background images. One's a gradient, a linear gradient, and one's an SVG. And that's how that separator was made, which I like, and we use in the articles as well. Except here, it doesn't have the gradient. It's stronger in this situation because I wanted it to have more weight. And who knows? Maybe I'll end up doing that on MeyerWeb. But this is basically, it might fade a little bit towards the thing in the middle. Anyway, I can get rid of that one. So this is how I want to do this. This might not even be enough space, but I'm going to leave it for now. Yeah, see, here's that book cover effect that I want to, that I think I embedded into. Yeah, in this case, it's literally a style attribute, and I need to fix that. This should have a class, and then it should have this style applied. But this is the, hey, it's a book kind of thing, and I want it to look like it's an actual book. So I did a little bit of, I did it here too. You can see that. And a little bit of surrounding on it. So actually, let me break that out now. Inspect this element, and then I'm going to open up this style, and I'm going to do this part is the part that I want. And then whether or not I actually want to do this for anything that has a class of book and cover. It doesn't have to be part of the blog. Because I have pages where I talk about the books that I've written. They're sort of promo pages, not much more than that. But I would like to apply this style to those as well. I'm going to bring this in too, though. This supports display grid. And the thing is, instead of it being code pages, I really want it to be, certain classes of DLs. I don't know if it's a timeline or it's just a compact. Some of you may remember from way back in the day, there's an attribute. It might still be hanging around, but there's an attribute for the DL called compact, and it's supposed to do basically what I've done here, except without the margin, or the border. If you had a compact DL, it's supposed to put the the term here and then the definition sort of flowing right from it. I don't know about the alignment, if it was supposed to do that or not. Probably not. But so that's what I'm doing here. But you know, class equals or ooh. I could do that. I could actually use the. I could use that. Assuming that that's still an attribute. I could say any DL that has an attribute of compact. I'm totally looking this up now. New DL element MDN, so that the Mozilla Developer Network is my first hit, my first return, whatever. No, it does not still have this. So I can't really get away with that and be valid. I could do data-compact, but there's really no point. I should just be classing it. Oh well, it was a lovely thought. So any DL with a class of compact will get this and this, but I think any DL with a class of compact oops. Compact separated, something like that. I think, because this is a visual separation, you know, without that class, it would do everything except draw the borders. And I don't want to make it, you know, compact dot bordered, because maybe I'll end up doing this a different way someday. So I think I'll do it like that. But I'll have this in here as a, you know, at supports. I mean, I don't really have to do the at supports display grid, except if I were literally just setting up a grid and then setting up the grid columns and letting them flow naturally and not worrying about the alignment or the margin or anything, then I could I wouldn't need at supports. Like browsers that didn't understand grid would just lay out a normal definition list. But like if I took this away, then they would like be changing the, like all of a sudden the DTs would be aligned to the right, you know, like literally the right side of the column, and you'd have these margins and padding happening and this border showing up, and it would look kind of odd. So that's why I'm going to throw all this in a at supports display grid for this particular thing. And then what I can do is I can go back and I can take out the embedded style sheet here and actually add in classes and any inline styles, and then add the classes and get back to where I want to be. You know, since we're here, I need something generic, which is img max width 100%. I don't care what image you are. I don't want you to be any wider than 100% of your thing that you are in, whatever thing you are in. That'll make life visually easier. Yeah, these can be. I mean, this is papering over the fact that my images are too big, but I'm going to deal with that offline. I'm not going to make you all sit here and watch me resize images and run them through Image Optim. It's just not a thing I'm going to do. These paragraphs are still slightly too far apart. I can actually see that now that I'm looking at this particular. That's a little better, but I might need to bring this up slightly as well. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to come back to that at some point. Typography is one of the things that I'm not terribly good at. Here's another thing that's literally embedded CSS to make this go. I don't even remember what this element is. It's probably a div, but it could be a section. Yeah, it's a section. All right, so again, I'm adding more stuff. And I don't really want to do it that way. I think it's time for a negation selector. Thoughts star not P plus P. So any first child in any situation where a paragraph is the immediate sibling of an element that's not another paragraph. And that should cause both of those. Yep, that's what that did. So now this is not indented like it was. This is not indented like it was. This is indented because it's a paragraph following a paragraph. Yep. This is following probably a figure. Most of my captioned images are in figures at this point. Any unordered list? I think this is following a BR. Is it? Is there anything between? Yeah. Oh. So the BR is indented. That's funny. I didn't realize I'd put the BR inside, but it totally worked. That shouldn't be happening, and that's kind of wrong, but it's working because this paragraph is following a paragraph, and it indented its first line, so the BR is right there. It is 0.01666626 pixels wide. That's funny. And then the next line is not indented because text indent only indents the first line. That's so cool. And this is all pre. I am 99% sure. Yeah, pre inside it with a code inside it to mark that that's actually code. Yeah, I got to deal with this. So this is like this classic problem, and classic historical problem, where monospace text, if it inherits the font size, ends up being smaller because most browsers defaults, the monospace is like around 13 points or pixels or whatever, and everything else is 16 points or pixels. So like this element is inheriting 1M from its parent effectively, but it has a font size built in somewhere that says, let me inspect this element. I like font family Moz fixed that has other stuff. Anyway, so there's a way around this. I wrote about this quite some time ago. I'm going to use it now. Code. Actually, yeah, let me start with code. Font family monospace, comma, sans serif. Because your font stack can have multiple families, but now look, it's 16 pointer pixel whatever, the same as everything else because of this comma sans serif, and the reasons are weird and abstruse, and I'm not going to get into them now. I do have an article. I think it's called. Let's see. Newwwyear web monospace font size. Fixed monospace sizing is what I called it. Published 7 years, 10 months ago, where you can see that we're having some problems here because that CSS isn't coming through, I don't think. But this stuff may not be in codes. This may be raw pre. And yes, it is. So I do need pre comma code. There we go. And that might be a little bit too big. Like I might actually want to go 0.95M here, or 95% if you roll that way. Something like that, so that it's just a skosh smaller. But see, then that happens. So not so much. So, oh, because I did font family, not font. Duh. Font 95%. All right, that takes it down a little bit, but it's still an appropriate size. I'm not sure if that's going to trip across problems for people, though. Let bring this down here to, yeah, so this looks semi-decent, and this looks good embedded here. It's a little hard to pick out visually, but I'm going to set it apart. That's a thing that I just commonly do. I wonder if I should do career and really kick it old school. I have monospace fonts faces that I like so much more than that, though. I mean, I was a big fan of Andale Mono for a long time. I still am a fan. Looks more like that, but I think I'm going to go with Consolus or Consolus, however they pronounce it, because that's pretty widespread and it's pretty good. It's what I use in BB Edit, and I'm pretty sure it's widely available at this point. And if it's not, then it falls back to Andale Mono. And if Andale Mono's not there, then I don't know, I'll throw in Career New. And if that's not available, it'll pick whatever monospace. And if that's not available, it'll go to sans serif, which will make this stuff stand apart from the rest of it. So that's lovable for me. But this is where I start to get into, like, I use the elements TT and KBD and stuff like that to draw distinctions between things. So, you know, KBD, I can do, I could do that. I don't actually know if I have any KBD in here. I know I have articles where I've used it. Do I have any KBDs? Not here. Oh, I think I remember where. Meyerweb. Essential tool screenshot. Firefox's screenshot command. Yeah, there it is. Look at all that keyboard. Woo! Nice. Okay. Yeah. Although I need to extend that to KBD and TT. And then I can do this. And now it, yeah. I apologize to all your optic nerves, by the way. 080 for the moment, right? RGB, yes. Right, so that's kind of classic VT100 style now, where it's showing this in a little bit of a different color and a different font face, so it stands out a little more. Here you can see my deletion and insertion styles, or sorry, the browsers, not mine yet. The browsers, this is deletion because I said something and it turned out to be wrong, and then this is insertion where it underlines everything. And I am going to want to change that. Actually, I think I'll get to that probably right about now. Well, you know, saying that this is VT100 style actually makes me think. Oop, not margin. What if I did like 0, I'll do 1CH and see how that looks. And then border right, yeah, right, hello, let's type correctly please, 1.2M, solid current color. And that should give each one of those a little typey cursor. That's too wide though. 1M, how about half a CH? I don't know. It might be a bit much. What do you guys think? Chat me up here. Tell me what you think about that. I might have overdone it there. I could also do 080, 0808. That would be fun. And maybe I want the margin right to be the same. Margin right. Actually, margin. Oops. Duh. I don't know. I hope everyone's still there. I think that might be overdoing it. I can always do border and then border width 0, 1M, 1px 0. Yeah. Although, rather than that, there's always ew, no, not that. Yeah, I think I've probably overdone this. Although I know, here's what I'll do. I can do this, and then I can use an animation to blink the cursor. That'll be awesome. No, I'm not doing that. Yeah, I unfortunately took it too far. So instead, we're going with border bottom, oops, on px dotted. I can use current color. Go with something like this. I think that's probably better. I don't need the padding. I think I'm going to keep the margin, though, to set it apart a little bit from everything around it. I think that actually works. I might eventually come back and take out the dotted underline, but I think that's good. I think that works for now. Having a little bit of extra separation around it, and this little underline. I mean, I could put a little bit of a bottom padding as well to push it down out a little bit. Padding bottom. I'll go with another 1px. See if that pushes it down slightly. Yeah, I could do that too. Although what I should really do is do this. Oh no, I shouldn't do that. Never mind. Yeah, I know what you mean about this right here. But, and there's the space, a little bit of space here before the period. Maybe if I shave it down slightly. I mean, this is where design eventually ends up at. Is like these little shavy things of the. Let me bring it up a little. Let me bring it down a little. Let me see what that looks like. I mean, it's always going to look a little weird in some way. Just a question of how much. Let me see what this insert looks like. Oh, I've been using titles. Good God, I've been using titles for a while. So that actually, any insert that has a title attribute. Oops, I have to spell insert right, don't I? Text decoration none. Oops. So, yeah, maybe I don't want to do the square brackets, but what I can do, yeah, I don't. Let's do this instead. Title. Right. CH. Font. Style. Italic. So that should. Oh, wait a minute. Added. Oh, I already had added in the title. So I can insert that in, added 23 October 2015. And then I could punch it up a little bit. Since everyone was complaining yesterday about me not using HSL. Not everybody. RGB. Yellow, blue, yellow is about 60 degrees. Percent comma 100%. No, 100% comma 50%. This is probably going to be yellow. But I don't actually want it there. I want it here. And I'm going to, oh, that's interesting. Firefox inferred the comma 1 in my HSLA even though I didn't include it. Huh. I'm not sure how I feel about that, Firefox. But now my insert is highlighted a bit. Let's see what the delete element looks like. Inspect element. I didn't say when it was, but I could use the same idea. And I could always go back and I don't think I want to do this. I actually think I want to keep the text decoration, but what I want to do is I want to fade it back. Like it's there, but did I do that wrong? Oh, because it's not a title. Actually, you know what? Any deletion. It doesn't even need a title. If it has a title, I can throw something in. Yeah. I want something more like that. You know, 0.5 might be too much. Let me bring it up to 0.6 and see how that looks. But yeah, I definitely want it visually de-emphasized. But I want to keep the strike through because if I took the strike through away, then it would just be like, why is this text faint? The strike through makes it relatively obvious. And then, I mean, I could, with the date time, I could insert a, deleted 2015-10, like that could be in here, but I don't think I want to go that far. But I prefer the added because, right, like this was added on the 22nd and this was added on the 23rd. Yeah, I think that's where I want to be with that. Yeah, so Peter says he didn't know you could use ATTR title in the content attribute. You can actually use ATTR anything, any attribute in content. You can't really use it anywhere else, but you could literally do things like some of my CSS tests. I have a style that takes the ID and or class of the element and inserts it into the beginning of the content so that when someone's looking at the styles and they're looking at the test, they have an idea of, wait, which actual test is this? Because some of my tests have, 10 or 12 or 20 paragraphs or list items or whatever in a row. And, rather than having to count in an unordered list or in an ordered list or an unordered list, or having to count paragraphs or whatever, or try to figure out like view source, I can just insert, ID P20, and then they can look up at the style sheet that's being applied in the test and say, okay, P20 is supposed to do this thing. They don't all do that. Some of them, I used to do it by manually inserting that stuff, and then one day I realized, wait, content is a thing, and I could just insert those automatically. So yeah, you can, in theory, you can generate the source of an image. And one of the things that I've done and will probably do for this site in print style sheets is after a hyperlink, you do a after, and then effectively this, except you use attr href. And then for print, it puts in parentheses or square brackets or whatever the URL of the link that you have, that you've just printed out. Which granted can run you into trouble if someone prints out a URL that was never meant to be human readable, but it is a thing you can do. I wonder if this is taking this too far. Making this smaller. Oh, font size, style, nice. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. Yeah, I'll leave it. If I discover that I hate it later, I can always come back. The page background's starting to bug me, though. I discovered earlier that Papaya Whip is really the closest named color to what I've been working with here. That's not quite where I want it, though. Okay, so hang on a second. Oh, no, I don't have that yet. Fine. Clearly, I've been here before. RGB, FF, no, hex. Using fed here. That is HSL 30 degrees, 100%, 93. I'll just copy that. HSL. I gotta throw the. Although just to mention, I believe the color module, the next version of the color module will let you do these without the commas, I believe. But that's still in process, and that might change. Anyway. Okay, so that should take us back to where we were. Yep. And I can just lighten that up. That's better. And I'll feather back the saturation a bit. Right, like this, I know this is where HSL-A is super useful. You probably can't tell. But anyway, I think that's better for now. What it looked like before was starting to bug me. What's this? Screenshot. No, I just put it in an M because what else was I going to do? Yeah, I could have used TT, I guess, but yeah, see, and this is the thing about Georgia. This is going to bug me. Georgia has this thing that it does the old style numerals, and sometimes that's nice, but I'm going to have to find a different font. If anyone in chat has a suggestion for a good alternative to Georgia that doesn't require loading, like a common alternative to Georgia, other than Times, I know about that one. One that would be fairly widespread without doing a web font. Not that I'm utterly opposed to web fonts. I want to stick with system fonts as much as I can. It's a thing. At least until variable fonts become widespread, and then I'm totally converting over, and you can't stop me. Just because that's going to be awesome. Garamond. That's an interesting idea. Apple's not going to sue me though, right? No. Sorry. That's not going to work. Too small. And yeah, if font size adjust were super widely supported, I would totally drop that in, but it's not. So, I mean, Georgia's not bad. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not going to make myself crazy over it, but I just figure if somebody's got an idea there in the le chat for I don't know, something that comes with Office or... Yeah, there are there are CSS properties that let you set the numeral style. I could go look that up. Is Baskerville a Windows widespread? I didn't think it was. I'll try it. I mean, what the heck? I don't think I even have it on this machine. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Never mind. Yeah, see again, like Garamond, it's too small by default. I mean, Georgia totally tuned for web display, like online display, for screen display. That is why it was designed. Yeah, you're right about that, actually. Listapart.com. Let's see if we can find Richard Rudders. Did I just go past it? No, that's Jen Simmons. Find Rudder. Here we go. That's tables. Numerals. Ding. Good thinking, Jason. Thanks. Yeah, see, I want, image. Anyway, I want more this than this. Georgia Pro now. We're going Georgia Pro. Well, let's see what happens. Font variant numeric. What is... Oh, yeah, what is the serif that came out with Calibri? Anyway. Font variant numeric normal? Is it normal rather than old style nums? Let's see what happens. Nothing. Yeah, it's funny. He has his entire... Is it lining that I want? I think that might be what I want. Richard has his whole like enforce old style, and I'm trying to go the other way. Yeah, see, I want this everywhere. That's the way I am. But I'm not, and I don't know that Firefox might not support this yet. Could just be. Let me see. Can I use? Because that's where we all go, right? Font feature. Was it font feature? No, font variant numeric. Variant new. Oh, they don't even have it. Font variant alternatives. Well, Firefox is supposed to support it. Boo. All right. Oops. Come back. Kandara? I don't know. Stop stealing my focus. There's a way to do this with the font feature settings. I actually want onum 0. It could just be that Georgia offers no joy here. Like, Georgia might not have this. I would have to probably grab, or maybe Georgia Pro. Georgia Pro, comma, Georgia. Cambria. All right, I could try that. Well, If Georgia Pro has it, I don't have Georgia Pro, or I'm doing it wrong. One of the two. Maybe LNum1. Nope. I just think there's no joy here. That's okay. I will take it back. Let me throw in Georgia Pro. Georgia Pro. And then I'm also going to do, what did we say? Cambria? Cambria. Let's see what that looks like. It's slightly smaller than I want. I mean, I could overcome that. It's not bad. Huh. That's pretty good. I dig this. It feels ever so slightly more open than what I had in mind, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I have a tendency to scooch up my my letters anyway. I am the kind of person that would steal sheep. Although wasn't it Eric Gill who said that? And like he has any room to talk. Maybe it was Bringhurst, in which case I take that back and apologize. But I do mess with letter spacing on a semi-regular basis. Not on my website, but when I'm doing slides, I have a tendency to close up the text just a skosh. Yeah, I like the italics too. It feels cleaner. Georgia just feels fussier to me a little bit. And this does feel cleaner. And if it falls back to Georgia, it's not an enormous problem. Yeah. And I'm not restricting this to the fonts. I am taking this global. Yeah. Let me go with. Let me stick with what I had. Stick with what you had. I'm going to go at 1.05. No. Oh, 1.0.5. Oh my goodness. So that's at 1.05M. And that's 1.1. I like them both. I think I'm going to probably strike the difference here. Because if Cambria isn't available, yeah. I'm digging it. I am digging this. Who said Cambria? Thank you, Brian. Most appreciated. And the David for having sort of pointing that out. Yeah. This is where I want this to be. Oh, this feels good. This actually feels really good. I might want to take down the line height just a tad. Let's see how that looks. No. That already feels too constrained. Yeah, I'm digging this. And I've changed my mind about the deletion. It actually needs to come back to half opacity. Actually, even less. 1/3 opacity. That might be too much. I know. I was using this yesterday, so 0.42. Does supports work for checking if a font is available? I don't know. I was going to say I don't think so, but you know what? I have no flipping idea. I don't think so. I think what it's going to do is it's going to say, I understand font family and I understand the format of this value. Like if I did supports font family, well, I don't know. Let's find out. Body, background, yellow. Important. Oh my God, it's important. What's he even doing? Let's see what happens. Yep. So actually you don't, it only has to recognize the form, it only has to recognize sort of the pattern. It says, I understand font family and that looks like a value. Oh, right, duh. I'm dumb. Actually, let's make this border left 1 solid yellow. Let's stop doing that. That hurts. There we go. Actually, that might hurt even more, but it's okay. It won't be there long. Okay, right? It has to allow anything it doesn't recognize, because otherwise, how is supports even going to work? Like, it has to account for the fact that there might be things it doesn't understand. It's like, no, I don't understand. Like, this could be a font name, but if I did font, I don't know, weight. Right. It's going to say, well, I don't know that value, but font family, a font family can be almost anything. That would be seriously interesting if it did if it were extended to do things like, you know, that test. All right, Shane, I've now nominated you to file a thing with the CSS working group's GitHub issues list to say, hey, could we consider this? Right? That supports font family, you know, Calibri, and it only works if Calibri is available, or however you say that. Yeah, no problem. But good, yeah, file that as an issue. It'll probably get shot down, but it would be worth it to know the reasons why it gets shot down. Sort of like the parent selector. People kept asking, you know, for years, and the working group would just say that's too hard. And then finally, when Sean Inman asked for it, Dave Hyatt had that comment on Sean's blog that was basically, here are the reasons why that's hard. And so been able to, we were able to point people to that and say, well, right, we know it's useful. We know you want it. People have wanted it for a long time. Here's an explanation as to why that's difficult, like why that would be a performance threat. So, you know, just to have it, you know, if somebody says, well, we can't do it for these reasons, like that would break these other like necessary behaviors, would at least be useful. And then, you know, when someone else has the idea and proposes it, we can say, good idea, but please read this. Yeah, so these are figures. I need to deal with figures. I'm probably, well, that's a standalone figure, but I need to deal with the fig captions as well. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is no send coding in BBEdit. I don't know. It might be there. I've been using BBEdit for so long that a lot of my habits are baked in. But there probably is I mean, I don't know if there's auto completions for of that nature. I would think that the BB Edit guys would say if that's something you want, you should have TextSpander on OS 10 so that you have it available system-wide and not just in your editor. They do have, like if I wait long enough, they'll pop me up a list of all the things that I might be trying to say. So I can do font size smaller, for example. And I don't know if they have value pop-ups or not, but again, don't take that as me saying, no, they don't have that sort of thing. It's entirely possible it's in there, and I've just never used it because I have a BB Edit 1.2 box on my history shelf. That's how long I've been using BB Edit since then. And so they're like text factories were in BB Edit for years on years before I finally like took a look at them and understood what they were and said, why was I not using these for, a million years already? Standalone. IMG display block. Oops, display block. I wonder if I also have IMGs with classes of standalone. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if I did. Margin 0, auto. So that's a standalone figure centered there. This is not a standalone figure, so I'll get to that in a minute. You know what would be super cool here? I bet you do. I could use a simple grid to constrain the caption to the image. Yeah, I could totally do that. So I'm going to do supports, display grid. Oops. There's a muscle memory habit. And in case anyone was thinking about asking, I am probably not going to take all of my display grid at supports blocks and then combine them into a single at supports block. I actually like to have my at supports blocks, my support blocks where I'm doing something like next to the things that I'm sort of enhancing. So I'll probably end up with several of these at supports scattered throughout the eventual style sheet. But that's, basically it'll be do this by default, and then if you support grid, do this other thing to this thing that I'm talking about here. So figure.standalone. And I have to do figure.standalone because I have paragraphs that are standalone. And I'm pretty sure I do just have images that are standalone. But when images and paragraphs have a class of standalone, they're just themselves. They don't have captions typically, I don't think. I may find out that that's wrong later and have to revisit this CSS a bit. But figure.standalone, display grid template columns. I really should have let autocomplete do that for me, but that's okay. 1FR, min content, 1FR. And then standalone, grid column 2. Let's see if that works the way I think it's going to. Nope. Oh, because my image is max. Yeah, shoot. This is a thing, and I keep forgetting this. With grid, the intrinsic size of something like an image isn't honored. Like it isn't, there isn't a way for me to say min-width intrinsic size. So that's not going to work. Shoot. It was a really great idea. That was just tragically wrong and flawed and mistaken. Yep. Nope, that's got to go. Obviously, if I imposed... oops, no. Right, so this is... What size is this thing? It's 600 pixels wide. So if I were to go to that and I threw in, width equals 600, or I might have to do a style. Style equals width 600 px. Oh no, it's still going to squinch it down, even though I've styled it. That's interesting. Huh. That doesn't feel like it's right. Well, I mean, clearly that's how it's implemented. All right, so that's not going to happen. Never mind. Darn. It would be super great if there were a way for me to say, make this the same width as the thing before me, which is what I clearly was trying to do there. But that's not going to happen. All right. Well, figure. So this is a figure. And pretty much all my figures that are not standalones are display block, or I'm sorry, floated right. Figure. So let's see. Figure float right, because I still want that to happen, but figure dot. Actually, I should just use standalone display block. I should do dot stand alone, float none. So this should float over to the right. Yep, but this is all blown out because it doesn't know to make that smaller. So I'm going to need a max width for the figure. Although, wait a minute. Why isn't it making it smaller? Floats are supposed to, they're supposed to squeeze down. Is there something in Fig Caption that I'm not aware of? Let's find out. Display block. Unicode byte isolate. Well, font variant numeric lining nums is recognized by Firefox, so that wasn't the problem before. I could use display table. I just don't like to. It makes my teeth great. What time is it? How long have we been doing this? Have we been at this for 2 hours? I might have to quit for today. What time is it? Yeah, this has been going for 2 hours. I had no idea it had been that long. I don't imagine this would make any difference. Oh, wait, wrong thing. Because I'm pretty sure it would do that anyway. Yeah, all right. So I'm just going to max width. Oh, thanks, Shane. Max width, I'm just going to go with 40%, and we'll see what happens for the moment. Yeah, so I'll need to deal with that a little more. What of that? Oh. I mean, I could try display table at some point. Maybe that would work out for me. Yeah, I'm going to have to figure this out, whether I'm going to right align this or the image in here, or if I'm just going to crank it down a little more, like I could do 33%. Maybe that's sufficient. But I'm also thinking that at least at wider screen sizes, these I'm probably going to pull to the side a bit. I'm going to have them pull out of the content column just a tad. Yeah, I think that's likely to happen. Oh, and it looks like figures have they have browser intrinsic styles that I would also want to override. But anyway, all right. So I think this has been enough for today. Sorry it didn't get as far as I thought it would, but that's I guess rough layout is easier than doing things. Oh, will there be a post on my blog about my opinion about Atomic CSS with those class names? Yeah, no thanks. Somebody had that idea, like proposed that idea as a joke a few years ago, and now people are actually doing it, and I don't understand. I don't understand. That's how that is. Maybe I will blog about it eventually, but for right now, I'm having more fun doing this, I think. So yeah, I think tomorrow I'm going to deal with this metadata styling and this metadata styling and comments in general to make them look a little better. Style trackbacks and pingbacks differently than actual comments because, I do still get those occasionally. And I need to get the masthead in place. And that's one of the things that's making me think between the masthead and the footer that I'm probably not going to keep the body constrained to a certain width. It's going to be the main div. But that's for tomorrow, and that will be 10 o'clock in the morning tomorrow Eastern time, which is where I am, is my plan to do that tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. to about noon, basically up until lunch in the Eastern time zone. So thanks everyone for hanging with me. Really appreciate it. I love that you guys are interested and that you're getting something out of it. And I might do a little bit of structural cleanup tonight, as I sometimes do, as I did last night, or not. So anyway, I will hopefully catch you all later.